Climbing 101, the Deadpoint. When I was a VA climber, I was pretty much the opposite of the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. If I were a video game character, it'd be like if I put all my skill points into learning one simple technique. And in this video, we'll go over the fundamentals of what that technique is. This is the start of a new technique series that I'll be working on for a while called Climbing 101 and Climbing 201, where I will create pairs of videos and I'll talk about different climbing techniques. So the 101 will always be for beginners and can be used as a refresher on fundamentals for more experienced climbers. Before diving into the 201 video, where I'll break down advanced concepts like niche cases or common mistakes that even a V10 climber could have when trying to apply the concepts from the 101 video. And for now, we'll do a fundamentals discussion on the dead point. So, what is the dead point? Rather than discuss the technique, let's use a tennis analogy. When tossing a tennis ball to serve, the ball will hit a point of equilibrium at the top of the toss. As it's going up, it'll slow down until the speed is 0 at the top. Then it'll slowly pick up speed as it falls again. So the top, where the speed is 0, is what's called the dead point. So in climbing, this happens when executing dynamic movements as well. Climbing dynamically is just about using power, which for the sake of this video can be simplified as moving with speed. And I think a common misconception is that climbing dynamically involves cutting feet, but I think that it's better to think about the difference between static and dynamic climbing as being more about how fast are you moving. Because if you're moving slow, then you're moving statically with strength, and if you're moving fast, then you're moving with power. And I think strength versus power is the real distinction between static and dynamic climbing, as opposed to whether you cut your feet or not. So for the purposes of this video, when I say dynamic climbing, try to think about how you can move with a lot of speed. Back to the tennis analogy. One difference between climbing and tennis, though, is that when climbers hit the dead point, we can use the rest of our body to exert tension and thereby stop the part after the dead point, where the ball continues to fall and pick up speed as it's going down. By continuing to pull with your other arm and create tension with your legs or hips, you can effectively stop the drop after making contact with your target hold. This is the ideal way to execute the dead point in most cases. Consider if we do not use the rest of our body to stop the drop. You can see there's an impact on our fingers because our body starts to fall. And if we recall the tennis analogy, the speed of our fall will continue to accelerate, so there will be more weight as time goes on. So the goal is always to at least minimize the drop if you can't stop it completely. Climbing relies on finger strength, and fingers are usually one of the smallest muscles in your body, and so being able to minimize load there will always be helpful. In the next video, we'll talk about some exceptions to this, but I think for the 101 video, remembering to stop it as soon as possible is a good starting point. So where should beginners start? If you're new to dead pointing, then try to remember 3 steps. 1 is to loosen, 2 is move fast, and 3 is tighten. In order to execute dynamic moves, you'll need to be loose to create power. People often call dynamic climbing springy, and it's because the elasticity you'll get from not being tight allows you to generate more power. Move fast is more of a cue to help beginners who are more intuitive to remember that dead pointing is dynamic, and it's common for some beginners to want to climb slow and static, and that is reasonable because static climbing is comfortable because it'll rely only on as much as you can pull, so therefore it'll be less risky. You won't ever have the part where you start accelerating down, but the goal is to get used to practicing dynamic climbing, and in order to do so, it's crucial to remember to move fast. Lastly, for tighten, we want to always remember to try to keep tension at the dead point. If you can stop the drop, then you won't have to worry about the impact on your fingers when your body starts to fall again. So, for practicing generating momentum, I consider focusing on a few things at a time. Really try to get comfortable pushing with the legs and catching the drop when you make contact with the hold. In the 201 version, I'll go over a more complex topic related to ideal momentum generation, how to break the rules in this video, and another tennis analogy I love called no man's land. So if you're interested in really becoming advanced in the dead point, then like, comment, and subscribe because that video will be coming soon.